Much like money, time is used as a control mechanism. Time is one of those shackles that are put on us to reframe our reality in such a way that we actually think of it in linear form instead of cyclical form. And in that process, there's a control mechanism. Now, as much as possible, I think what it's designed to do is to remove us from the sense of divine timing, of the world's time, and puts us into this mechanical time that only exists because we put it there. But it doesn't really exist beyond that.
Here where I am in Rhode Island, at some point this summer, I will go down to the beach and all the horseshoe crabs will be on the beach. You know why? Because of the phase of the moon. That's why they're there. The sky clock told them, your time, go lay those eggs, guys, like you have for thousands and thousands of years. At the same day, every year, the Great Barrier Reef, the largest living thing we're aware of, spawns all at once. What does that? Sky clock tells the Great Barrier Reef. So how is it that we can assume that those living things are somehow affected and we aren't? And that's what we've been convinced.
And in that, there's this control that happens because you get out of sync with natural rhythms of the planet, the cosmos, and divinity itself. We delineate time and understand cycles, but in the process of delineating time, we actually remove ourselves from the cycles. We may be able to go to a meeting on time with other people because we know what time it is on our clock, but we've eliminated our circadian rhythms, our understanding of lunar time versus solar time, our understanding of time as it relates to where we are on a planet, in a universe, or divine time itself. And I believe that's intentional. It's all designed to keep us away from that sense of spirituality you might get from the earth or from the universe at large, God, however you want to call it. It removes us from that so that there's more control.
Happy 50th.
50. That's right.
You're not going to age the same biologically as another person. And so when you look at time and somebody says, I'm 40 years old, and someone else says I'm 40 years old, they can look completely different. And you could say one looks 20 and one looks 60. Time itself on a biological spectrum is not realized the same by everybody. And you could say, oh, you just experienced the same hour of time. No, I could be totally focused and experience that hour of time differently than someone who's totally bored and it takes forever. So your experience of time is very different from the actual incremental, thing on a clock. But the thing on the clock is that construct. Now, the cycles of time are very real. But again, it's hard to measure time in terms of your experience of time and time in terms of what goes by on a clock. Our fixation upon the minutes and hours and always, pushing to do more within a shorter period of time and always being late for this or that. This lack of time then is what gets us to do things without thinking. We don't have time to contemplate. We just have time to do. But the contemplation is what's vitally important. On the way back from getting my son from a sporting event, I actually came upon a free hammock. Now, this wasn't just any hammock. This was one of those really nice hammocks that have wooden pieces on the both ends and long, wide hammock, really well made. And this thing, costs about $200 or more new. And he was giving away free. And as I was taking it, he said, yeah, I got it. I might be used it a couple times. I just didn't have time for it. And that's just it. He didn't have time to use his hammock. I think most people don't have time to use their hammock. They also don't have time to contemplate. Now, if you've got running shoes, you've got time for that because it's exercise. But a hammock is not exercise. Or is it? I think the hammock is exercise. It's exercising your contemplation. It's exercising your mind. In fact, it's also sharpening your mind. It's taking that time out that you vitally need to sharpen those places in your mind that you just don't usually have time for. When you sit in a hammock, you aren't outwardly doing anything, But the inward sharpening can be one of the most valuable things you'll ever do. You cut through a lot of the things in your mind that you just can't do from an active angle. Your subconscious is so much more powerful than this active mind. It has seen and done everything you have and more. When you allow it to work on its own, it's like a computer and it will do amazing things for you. If you don't take the time to turn off that executive functioning that you're always in when you're doing, that you never get a chance to allow your subconscious to really noodle around and come out with things and ideas that you would never get otherwise. The hammock effect is one of the best things you can do with your time, and yet it's seen as being lazy. Hey, I get it. It could be. Maybe you are being lazy. I don't know. But I do know that it's not always true. You're not always lazy when you're laying around in a hammock. You're allowing the expansiveness of time itself to be felt. And in that moment, you're allowing your subconscious to play inside of you. And outside of you, you allow yourself to relax, to just be, and to just be. We are human beings, not human doings. And that one little fun statement says it all. So my suggestion to you is to use the power of the hammock effect, to use the power of that moment when you lay in the hammock, when you lay in the chair, or when you allow yourself to just look out at the expanse of the world. What's great about the hammock is it makes you look up into the sky. Now, when there's blue sky and you can see for distance, then you have that expansive effect. And it's proven scientifically, when the mind sees that expansiveness, you tend to think more expansively. The same is true for when you just look around your apartment or look at the walls inside, and that same containment happens. You don't have that same expansion. You tend to just contract more. Science can explain all kinds of things. What I do know is that when I use my hammock on a periodic basis, I get amazing ideas. So I always recommend that when you're just laying in your hammock, just in case you get that epiphany, you should write it down. Have a notebook handy when you're having your hammock time, and be prepared to write down those ideas, because you know what happens? You write them down, and maybe you keep on going and you keep writing. You write down those ideas, and then you don't lose them. You're not clogging your mind thinking you're going to remember them. Those ideas are like a dream. They come to you in the hammock, and you think you're going to remember them, but you really don't. Or you don't remember them in the same way they came to you. Like in the dream that you try to explain later, and it really doesn't come across the same way as you can see it in your mind. So when it comes through in your mind, you write it down right away, just all those little keywords you think of, and you write it down, and it comes out of your mind onto paper. You let it go, allowing more imaginings to take place, more ideas to come, and write those down as well. You've unclogged your mind, and you've allowed those ideas to then come back to you later, and you use them. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. I don't know. Regardless, you wouldn't get them otherwise. There's serious epiphanies that you can have in a hammock. The hammock effect is one of the best things you could do with your time. And yet, it's probably not even on the list of things for you to do at any time. That's why that guy gave away his hammock. It wasn't on his list. And certainly for the most part, I think it's not on the list of most people. The hammock, though, could save your life. Now, one of the best things that the hammock does, I think, is it gets you to question things, see them from a different angle, from a different lens, and you start to just put ideas together, and you start to question things. And that's one of the reasons why I'm suggesting that the hammock might be one of the best rebellious things you'll ever do. The risk of losing time in a hammock is up to you, but I'm suggesting it's one of the more valuable things you could do, and I'm hoping get yourself a hammock and actually use it. Thanks a lot for watching. If this is helpful, give it a like, and I'll see you next time.